Hello, fellow Fumblers, and welcome to another episode of the Fumbler Show, the show where four friends fumble through your favorite films. Today, we are reviewing Another Round, a movie released in 2020 and directed by Thomas Vinterberg. So without further ado, my name's Adrian.
What's up? It's James.
I'm Taryn, and joining us for this episode, we got the potato himself, Nathan, aka Nader Potato. Pew, pew.
Nader. The mad lad himself.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Yeah.
Recording live on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Nader, the real reason we brought you in on this episode, specifically, you have a problem. You're the one friend, one of the four of us that is on the boat with his dog at the end of it.
Oh my god.
No, I'm just kidding.
No,
It's got to be one of us.
soon.
It's got to be one of us.
Too soon. All
I'm
right,
joking.
boys.
Too soon. 2020. Well, to that though, we should cheers.
Cheers,
Cheers to
y'all.
that one. Cheers to the. I think the dog lived. I hope we need to talk about that.
I hope,
Oh yeah.
cheers.
Yeah. Well,
Ooh, that was a filled up to the brim shot. Usually I'm a little skimpy on them. This time I was like, we got to do it for this episode.
I
and
skimmed
all I'm
hard.
drinking is this on the rock.
Ooh.
Nice.
There's no bitters or
I didn't even think of doing
dash of
anything.
bitters in there, dude.
No, it's just there now.
There's the absinthe and the
Oh.
bitters and
Dude,
Yeah.
Nader, speaking of that,
Hmm?
obviously that's got to be a fumbled not stirred.
yeah,
100%.
we have to try that.
It
I don't
sounded
know
so
what it was
good, right?
called.
It's
Like
a
cherry?
Sazerac.
There
right?
you go.
Is it a Sazerac?
I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's like the glass is kind of like sprayed, right, with absinthe or whatever. If you have the
Yeah.
little
Coated.
Dude, I had
Yeah.
never really seen people make drinks like that until you made the episode with the different things and they're doing it. I was like, whoa, it is real. They're like lining the cup with the orange peel and
oh yeah,
so good.
like like spritzing it. Yeah, that's
yeah.
a whole.
Just to
that's
get
another-
the taste when you lick the glass.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of it too. Well, we don't have to get too far. I mean, it's a movie about drinking, so a lot of it too is like a lot of a really good drink at a bar is like the presentation and like watching them make it. So when you see them do the whole spray thing, a lot of times they'll do it with they'll flame it. They'll flame the orange and they'll
with
do a little
fire?
spark. Yeah, they'll get a match, light a match, and then hold the match in front of the spritz, and then it like goes like it's really cool.
Little, like,
Yeah.
fires
We haven't
on
done
it.
that.
That's sick.
We need
Because
to
I'm
get
not-
that
Dude, if-
B-roll, dude.
If I
I'm
saw
not on that
shit,
level.
I would tip
No, but
so
that's
fast
what
if
I'm
I saw
saying is
that.
like a lot of like getting a drink at a bar is like watching them make it and like they're creating it. There's like that's why the whole bar flare thing exists and yeah, but I mean it's for the smell too and like the you rub it around the glass so you smell it when you're drinking it and that whole deal.
It just looks
Never been
so
a
good.
bartender though, so I've just watched a lot of YouTube.
The more I see any kind of media about making cocktails or makes drinks and all the equipment and stuff involved, I'm just like, can I just get like a couple ingredients, please? Maybe
Jack and Coke, here you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jack and Coke is good.
Yeah.
But I'm also fascinated by the more complex stuff.
That's with
Try
like so
more.
many things though. There's just so many you can go into a rabbit hole and be like, wow, I'm
Yeah.
really into water polo now, and there's this entire world about it.
Dude,
That's
that
how the
fucking-
Byzantine Empire collapsed.
Exactly.
That crazy ass drink I got in Vegas at that restaurant that
Oh.
tasted like a fucking campfire.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like it was really good though.
It's
Like,
like
it
a
wasn't like too smoky. It was smoky, but
It was.
It was.
Did they
gin, but
actually
it was
smoke
like-
the glass? Did they put it over like?
I
They just
think
brought it to
so.
us. I don't know. Right? We didn't see
Yeah.
anything.
Because that's what they'll
had to
do a
have
lot of
smoked the
things, too.
glass.
Because
right?
it was
on top of
smoked.
the.
Yeah, they'll like
Oh.
torch some wood and then put the glass over it, and then it'll go smoking in.
That's sick. What
Yeah.
the hell?
It's another thing that I have not done. but it's
Put it on the
Fumbler
list.
idea. Yeah, it's on the list. All right, another round. So
Cheers. bro.
how did who heard of this movie that was like, let's watch this movie? Because I was kind of shocked to see that it was released in 2020
Mhm.
And all of us in the group just recently, just literally last week, were like, "There's this crazy
Yeah.
movie about drinking."
Yeah, I had
Like,
been
you
wanting to
have to
watch it.
Yeah.
It was kind of hyped up on Reddit a little bit. They kept like, "Oh, here's the poster for it. Here's the trailer." And then when I read the premise of it, I was like, "Oh fuck!" I was like, "It was
Mads
basically just
Mikkelsen,
like four
fuck yeah.
friends, yeah, four friends try to
Fumble through their
stay
daily
drunk
life.
forever," and I was just like, "Holy
Yeah.
shit!"
You're a
Uh,
victim.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, that's me right now." But
Yeah,
yeah, and so I've been wanting to watch it, and then when you guys, well, I didn't even know that you guys had watched it, and you guys were like talking about like, "Yo, are we gonna start drinking soon?" And I was like, "Yo, did you watch that movie?" Like, and you were just like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Ah, fuck, I need to watch it."
yeah.
Okay.
So I like at the end of the year, I just love going through people's top movie lists of the year, and I'm like, all right, I gotta check out some of these, and it was like on so many, right? I was like, all right, this sounds
Really?
so interesting. And then the Oscars came around, and it won Best International Feature, and I was like, damn, is it that good?
Wow.
Hmm.
And I just been wanting to watch it. It was never available, and then it just got put on Hulu kind of recently. And me and Jay were trying to watch a movie the other night, and I was just like, what about this? And he's like, damn, that sounds like a vibe. And then we watched
Did
it.
you, Nader, did you watch that with Taryn and Jay,
Yeah,
or did
yeah.
you?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
watched it with him, and I hadn't heard anything about it prior. I was
Yeah.
just like, they told me a quick synopsis, like, you know, get drunk. Mads Mikkelsen. I was like,
Cheers.
cheers. Let's get into it.
Yeah,
Oh.
Mads is Mad Max, brother. He's Mads, but
Yeah.
So sick,
he's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't heard like anything about this until literally a week ago. And going into it, I was just like, oh, it's just like a movie about drinking, I guess. Like I had such the bar was so low. And like literally less than a third of the way through the movie, like I looked at Samantha and I was like, this acting is like really fucking good. Like the dialogue is like really I was just not ready for I don't know, I was not ready for it to be that good, honestly.
I
Kind of
feel like
strange.
every step of the way, like every character, the kids, the
Yeah,
teachers, the family, like everybody sold it
yeah,
so
they really did.
well, and like so it never, there's never a moment like acting specifically took me out of it at all.
Yeah, like I think the big moment. Well, and then I don't know, I guess like especially lately I've just been more paying attention a little bit more to acting in general. I think all of us kind of have like with
Yeah.
Yeah,
dating our short
have
film.
you guys to thank for that.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. But yeah, no, like the specifically the scene where they're all having dinner and Mads Mikkelsen is like not drinking. He's just like, no, I'm not gonna drink. And they're kind of just going around the table, and then he kind of says like how he's miserable, like how he's just completely miserable, and like that monologue and like how his friends reacted to that was so it just felt so fucking real. I was like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
they nailed this dialogue, and
Yeah.
the acting was just perfect.
It also
It was
probably
work.
helps that like I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with like how seriously they can portray themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
Is a lot to do with just like what is this, Denmark, right?
Mhm.
So Danish
Yeah.
Danish
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
Oh god, they're all just I don't know. Anytime you ever hear like real life experiences from like people from Norway, or the Netherlands, anywhere in that area, everybody's
Yeah.
just so serious all the time. so monotone and
Mhm.
so I don't know. But you do see the fun moments, obviously, like
Yeah.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
movie, like
Absolutely.
But I don't know. I feel like a lot of the them selling it has a lot to do with
Yeah, and like I think
where it's at.
specifically with Mads Mikkelsen, like I just the only thing I really know him from is 007, like
Mm.
you know the Bond villain kind of
Same.
thing. And so I was just like, this is just a Bond villain. Like I don't know, it just he's so serious, but yeah, to what you were saying, Nader, is like it's just really like leaned into the whole just taking these characters very seriously kind of role.
Yeah. Well, did you see? Okay, so you were reading up earlier, and it was Sound of Metal was like a similar movie.
Related,
You see,
yeah.
so I mean, it related in a sense,
Oh.
like it's just like very real, right? Like, remember how I kind of complained about Sound of Metal being too real, like to where it was just kind of like, this is too real. Like, it felt like I was like hearing about it on somebody's Facebook that they lost their hearing. Like, I was just like, that sucks, man. And, like, that was life. But I think this one's like, it's more specifically relatable because
You're
it's
a drummer,
about
bro. What are you
drinking.
talking about?
I know, but I always wear sound protection, dude. Look, I got my freaking
Oh,
got my
there
earplugs right
Smart.
there, bro. Like I don't know. That's why I couldn't relate to Sound of Metal because I'm always extra precautious about my hearing. Like
you go. Okay.
Yeah.
but this movie is like be extra cautious about your drinking. No, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
Look at this big ass drink
Can't
I got right
relate.
here.
We're not
And
that
so I
white
think
yet.
that's where this movie like kind of hits that realness more for me. And
Yeah.
but I can see how people think that both those movies have like very real life aspect, and the acting it's almost not acting. It's because it's just so real. It's like you can. I'm sure the actors can just hop into it because they've experienced it, and like they kind of explain in Danish culture, it's a drinking culture from those kids drink in high school.
Yeah.
Like that's
That
like
drinking
it's
age
like
must be
this
real
big
low.
thing.
It's
Yeah.
16. To
Holy
buy
shit.
alcohol, it's 16.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Apparently they have like a big problem with underage drink, or not underage drinking because it's perfectly legal, but with
Just
teen
teenage
drinking,
drinking.
teenage drinking, and they like literally were just like, do we need to raise the drinking limit because it was way higher than other European countries, and
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I don't know. I
Didn't
think
they-
that. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was thinking in the beginning, at the very beginning of the movie, in the meeting, the principal of the school, I believe, is she
Yeah.
talking about limiting alcohol consumption for the teachers, or
The kids,
or just in general, like the teens? Because I guess that's what it sounded like
Yeah,
going on. Like they're addressing.
my
I guess
understanding
that
is with
was
the
the
kids.
kids, right? Yeah,
But it was
because they
interesting.
leaked
It was
that.
right after the lake race.
The lake
That
race,
one?
yeah.
It
Oh, shit,
felt
I forgot
like
about that. Wow.
it felt like so like I almost thought it was a flashback, right? Like it
Yeah,
seemed like
that's
that
what I was
was them
thinking,
when
like-
they were young.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think it was intentionally supposed to be like that because this entire movie is about like the escapism of trying to find like your youthful cheer again, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to think that like the kids they get their youthful cheer from alcohol, but it's probably stealing from their youthful cheer. But they
Sure,
don't need
yeah.
alcohol, right?
Yeah.
And it's like this whole intertwine of just like of how some people are like stripped away from what can just be okay in their lives.
Damn.
I don't know.
So now these guys are
That's
like,
kind of what I was
these
thinking.
like adults are like, what do we do now? We already drink our fucking asses off when we were teenagers.
Yeah, and they're like, well, let's just go back it again. And when you're a kid, you don't have all the real negative aspects of it because you're not married, you don't have a career yet. They're barely going into college. Like that
You
was
don't
like
get hangovers, dude. Like, remember drinking for that? Like, you just don't get a fucking hangover. You're like, let's do it again in the morning.
Yeah, I never thought of that. Now that I'm thinking
That's a
about
big
it, I was
one.
like, wow, we drink way, way more, and like we're pretty okay. But now it's like,
Yeah, I have like one
But,
beer, I got a headache the next day. I'm like, fuck.
I have a headache right now. Like, I'm just, God damn it.
But dude, so going to like the relatability. There you go. It's just when we were watching, it's just like these four friends just doing shenanigans, bro. They're like, oh, let's fucking drink,
Yeah.
bro. And it's just like that was so real because like, what the fuck else are we gonna do these days? You know what I mean? I feel like it's just some of us get together and we just start drinking. It's like what, no matter what time of day, we're just like, that's just what we're gonna do, and it's fun, you
Dude,
know?
and like, maybe this is touching on what James was saying is like, I don't know, it was almost too relatable because I was like trying to think, I was like, when's the last time that we've all gotten together for a thing and had zero alcohol? Like I can't think of a single time in recent history. Like
The movie. Nope.
yes,
No,
maybe
you
going
drink
to
before.
Nope. We brought back
Okay, maybe-
Claus on Saturday too.
Yeah, maybe when we saw. Oh, did you go to that, Nader? Did you watch Old with us?
No. Wait.
Oh.
No, I didn't.
I don't think we didn't drink at
Not yet.
Old, but that was like at 3 on a Sunday or something. So maybe that's why. I don't know, but it's an interesting thing to think about. Is that I was like, "Fuck, do we drink too much?" But we're the
Yeah.
film fumblers. So we do it for I was just it's like, I got to drink tonight. I'm sorry, I've got the show tonight. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we created this entire show around drinking. It's kind of.
Yeah.
I know. That's what I said because I think Jay asked me. He's like, "Well, did you like the movie?" And I was like, "It looks like a sad picture of my potential future if I don't just chill it out." But you know what? I'll drink to that. And
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
But the movie, I mean, the movie itself is like, just it has its funny moments, and right, and that's like what drinking does to you, where it's you're like it's mostly harmless, right, and then it shows like the flip side of it, where it's just like the anxiety, the hiding, the fighting, and just like the kind of closing yourself in, I guess, maybe like Mads Mikkelsen's character was just like so distant, but that was like not even the alcohol's fault, right? Like that was or
Beat
that
down by life. It felt like.
yeah, but it
It's
was
funny when you're talking about the good parts and then the bad parts. When I remember when we were watching it, it was in the first half of the movie when everything's going great, and you're like, "Damn, I've got to ride this high all the way to the end." I hope. I remember telling Taryn and Jay, I was like, this feeling you got right now where everything's great.
yeah.
I hope that doesn't come down, but I know it will, because then it wouldn't be a good movie if it was just everything was great. So much
But
more
I mean,
positive.
if they wanted it to
I was
just be straight
like-
comedy, like I guess,
Yeah, true. Hey,
whatever.
gotta
But
take it a spin like that.
Yeah,
you just just damn well like how well everything's going. Just like
can't
just get
last.
this, you just
Yeah.
get this feeling in your gut. You're like, oh god, it's all gonna go downhill, because like
Yeah.
you yourself have had that experience where you're like, hey man, maybe we should go a little farther, and then
go a little.
Dude, that was like the
Oh,
arc of
God.
watching the movie was the same as the movie itself. Like it was like the first like third, and they were all having
Yeah.
fun and shit. And they're like, I
Yeah.
think it was Nader's like, should we be drinking right now? And then we paused the movie and all got fucking beers.
Oh,
And it was
Guilty.
so fun. We were so much
Guilty.
fun. And then I was like, and then it started to go downhill, and I was just like looking at my beer. I was all fuck.
You're just like, let me just pour this out real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know, just
Yeah.
watching them have so much fun. I was like,
Yeah.
I'll be right back. I gotta go to the freezer.
Yeah, just being loose, watching them like, fuck. I thought just the whole entire like,
Sobriety.
story around Mad's character. He's like, I'm gonna be fucking drunk and I'm gonna teach everybody about people who are also drunk.
Dude, that
Like,
shit was so cool.
That was so funny, and it was so interesting, and it was.
Yeah.
Like I thought, like his lecture was interesting, where he was like kind of setting
The
up like
voting thing.
the perfect
Yeah.
person, and then the drunks basically, and that was just like really set that home, But
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I just loved watching him be so like recluse and like just down, and then like starting to drink, and like just how happy he was to be in class and stuff. I like felt so good for him. I was like, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It was a wild ride.
Yeah, I mean, and that was what was weird about the entire thing, is that they were touching lives and they were doing it in a positive and meaningful way. And I don't know how to fucking feel about that, because that kind of hurts. That kind of hurts because it's almost like without alcohol, these kids would have sucked. That little kid with the specs would have sucked. That one kid that literally wanted to drop out of high school.
Dude, that
wouldn't have
whole
finished his
relationship,
thing.
dude. That whole
Like,
relationship
all those-
was so good, dude. Fuck.
Yeah, like all three of those, like, I don't know. It's hard to like. gain a sense of what is right at the end of the movie. You know what I mean? And I think not to jump too forward into the end of the movie, I think sometimes you just have to fucking drink and say fuck it, because that's what happens at the end. And they
Yeah.
Cheers, brother.
celebrate the life of the guy that lost his life, and
Yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen does a little dance number, and life fucking goes on.
was-
And I don't know, it's kind of an open-ended ending where it's like, did they just go full alcoholism? They were like, fuck it.
Well,
or
Oh,
were they
probably
like,
not.
or
I
were they
mean-
like, you know, in the times, everything
I
calls
think like
for it.
that's the thing is like kind of the moral of the story, which is I don't know, I guess you could say is maybe predictable, is like in moderation, right? Like it's not like we should never drink alcohol again, it's so terrible. But at the same time it's just like it started to ruin their lives. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it really did. Even Mads Mikkelsen, like his relationship, and that's what was like really interesting is like he was in kind of, not a I don't know if you would call it like a terrible marriage, they weren't abusive to each other, but it was just filled with apathy,
Yeah.
like she worked nights, he worked days, they didn't have time together all the time, and they had kids, they had responsibilities, and he starts like having a couple of glasses of wine with dinner, and then they're having sex again, and it's just like, holy shit, like this is amazing. It's like revitalized their relationship, but then it ultimately leads to their divorce. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting story arc.
Yeah,
For sure.
it's like heartbreaking watching them. Like, it seemed like they were starting to rekindle their relationship, and then it's just like they're like the way they're like, "Oh, I've missed you" or whatever. It's just like, "Fuck, that's
Yeah.
crazy. How long has this been going on?" And then
Yeah, just that you're a totally different person.
yeah,
Yeah.
In the very beginning, when you were saying how they kind of juxtaposition the kids to the teachers right away,
Yeah.
you see the lively, like Grace, young, excited, fun
Carefree.
people, and then it jumps straight into the teachers' meeting, and then to Mads Mikkelsen in his home with his wife nearby. And, "Hey, do you think I'm boring?" And it's like, oh fuck.
yeah.
Yeah, so this is what 30 years in a
Yeah, what does she say to him? She's basically like, yeah. Like, guys, she doesn't
No,
comfort him
she.
at
I
all.
think no, she. Does the. I think she just does the usual. No, not at all. Like you're.
Yeah. Does
Yeah,
my butt look
goes
big in
around
these?
it.
But then, a little bit later in the movie, she's. When they are, when they do have sex again, they find intimacy again.
Mhm.
She's like, "I missed you," and it's like obviously that first
Yeah.
conversation was.
In a shell of him, of his former
Yeah, it's
self.
he when he asked if he was boring, the answer was yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
she like admitted she had been seeing another man for a while,
Oh,
right?
fuck,
Something
yeah.
like
Not
that, too.
not
Did
until
she-
Way later, yeah.
much later after
Mhm.
that
Okay.
after the camping scene.
I kind of missed that. So like in the camping scene, she says something, or maybe she pauses. Me and Samantha like looked at each other. We're just like, oh my god, like she's cheating on him the whole time. Like, but she
Mm.
doesn't. She just says like, I've missed you. That's all. I think that's all
Yeah.
she says right at the end of the camping scene. But she does later reveal that she's been having an affair. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
he like
Well,
kind of
it's-
freaks out a little.
yeah, when he has the tantrum at the dinner table,
Yeah.
Oh,
the kids and the wife, and after they got totally shit faced and
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It was
woke up
after
in the street.
the pleasure.
Yeah, it's not mentioned at all prior, but all of a sudden he knows, and it isn't revealed
Yeah.
until he
Yeah.
like yells
What
at
do
her.
they
like,
say? That's how like they reveal it as like it's like, do you have someone that makes you happy in your life or something like that? Do you guys remember what they were saying? They like ask each other that question.
the way he's asking her
Yeah.
to like get it out of her. Yeah,
That shit was
yeah.
oh, it was brutal. I was like, fuck, man. This
Yeah,
is
the
fucked up.
the
Because it's never
weird way to
explicit.
word it. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's never just like thrown out
having an
there.
affair.
Obviously, it's
Right.
the way it's revealed is him asking like, "Don't you have somebody that you're
Mhm.
like that you're hanging out with, that you're making memories with?" Pretty much.
Oh, because it's like about him and his friends, and then he asks her, and it's like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, you son of a bitch."
Oh,
And
Yeah,
then
and
just-
that's kind of the weird thing is like, it feels like they should have maybe just been telling their wives, like, "Hey, we're doing a social experiment where we get drunk every day." I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't have solved everything.
No
It
wife would
seems
ever let that.
Hey, I was
Yeah.
gonna say it
Seems to
wouldn't have
be-
gone over well, Adrian.
That's boys being
going
boys.
okay with this podcast where I tell Samantha I have to drink every Tuesday night. So
Hey,
Or
we
it's
You're
a
not
don't
like
hold
delegation.
it- we
at
don't
work, bro.
we don't hold a gun to
Yeah.
your head, and yeah, we're at home in the safety of our own homes.
Like
Wait,
the
you guys aren't-
secrecy was part of the fun, though. I don't know.
you guys aren't drinking at work? Oh wait, what?
Oh,
After this movie, yeah, dude, it's
the
part of my
life
daily
fumblers, the life fumblers. Fuck.
I don't know, kind of a tangent, but I think something that just strikes me more so than anything else in this film is to have the discipline to binge drink all day and then completely cut it off at a specific time like that. like
But
what
that
kind of
was-
Not on
yeah.
the weekends.
Yeah.
like what kind of self-control is that? What the hell?
Yeah.
What is
Well,
that?
that's how it starts, right? But it ultimately leads into them
Mhm.
kind of needing to drink every day.
All the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, at least with the soccer coach, right?
with the,
or-
yeah, specifically with the soccer coach.
Yeah.
He-
But yeah, it's funny how they're like, oh, nobody knows that we're drunk, and then eventually you find out everyone's just like, we've known that you were drunk this entire
Yeah.
time. Like everybody knows you couldn't have hidden it. Like, so
It
they
reminds
never
me-
even like thought of that. But I think that was when they like went to the ultra level or whatever. What do they call it?
Yeah.
Oblivion level. Yeah.
It reminds me of that meme where it's just like it's like, yo, do I smell like weed? No, you're good. It's just like two guys who smell like weed.
Yeah.
Dude, when Mads Mikkelsen needs a ride like to work or whatever, like from work or whatever that shit
Oh,
is,
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
I was like, oh fuck, are they going too far already? I was like, oh my gosh, dude, it was so funny.
Yeah.
Dude, such like great comedy where they need to get what is it? Like fresh fish.
Oh my
And so they
god.
literally go fishing in the harbor for it. Like that
And
was
then they go to
such a
the
good
store.
scene.
That shit killed me, dude. They're all just fucked up looking
Bro,
at shit.
You know what? Like that scene, it was believable. Like them being really drunk. A lot of times in movies, that like is so. It's just like, come on, this is not what drunk people do.
Dude, that's
But like
right.
we've all seen the 7-Eleven security camera footage of just the absurdly drunk people just holding on to things for dear life.
That reminds me of me holding on to that. Okay, so like this movie brought maybe this I don't know. This movie hits differently just because I've probably done the most embarrassing things out of everyone here, like being drunk, like just like too many times.
What is the
And-
story? What are you talking about?
Oh, the story when we were at Adrian's land. I don't know,
It was
2
in my
years
condo.
ago.
Yeah, it was a couple
The
of years
condo,
ago.
yeah. And I don't know, he made those barbecue sliders and I was like really drunk and I was eating that
Oh.
barbecue slider and it was like it was the only
He
thing
was
that
holding on to it for balance.
Yeah,
It
it was like
his-
the only
his
thing
focal
holding
point.
me up. Like I was just like,
Focusing
and the
on
more
it,
I
like,
ate
oh.
it, the more weight that was counterbalanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the
was,
scales of justice.
I
That's funny.
was in a fight with that Sammy. But yeah.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
that's a big thing. That's a big takeaway from this movie for me. Just all the ridiculous things that have happened while drinking.
Speaking of
Yeah.
speaking of ridiculous, when you mentioned when he decides he's not able to drive and he tells
Mhm.
what's his face, I forget the character's name. Peter? No, Nikolai. Nikolai.
Nicolaj.
Not sure what that is, but yeah, when he tells him, he's like, "Hey, I've been trying it out,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
honestly did not know." I was anticipating some sort of sad solo journey through this
Oh.
whole thing.
Ah,
Not
when
a
I
good
effort.
when getting to that scene, him starting it off the cuff, and things going well, I was like, oh man, it's gonna be his like self-destruction story, just his
Mm.
character, and then
Yeah.
the other teachers are gonna be proper like role models and father figures for him to like get advice from. But then it just turned upside down, and all of a sudden on the ride home they're like, Yeah, so he started it, so let's all fucking start it.
Yeah, dude.
And
The fucking
and
boys.
then,
Dude, the real rider dies, man.
Real
Like,
bros.
and I don't know about you guys, but like once when they were in the kitchen deciding they were gonna start this whole thing, I was just like, yeah,
It was hype.
It was especially hype because like of how beaten down he was. Like everybody else, like they were there celebrating the guy's birthday and everything. Like nobody was like feeling that sorry for themselves, except for Mad's character. Like they were just like fuck. Like, and it's interesting to see the way they reacted to him coming out as being like I'm very sad and like fucking hate my life. They were just like, yeah, it's all good. Let's just drink, you know?
Yeah, they
like,
brought up like fun
and that's,
stories
like,
about him and shit. It was the best.
Yeah, like the
Well,
fun stories, but it's like it's also like that toxic masculinity that we can't talk about our feelings and we have to just drink.
Don't
like,
talk about your
solve the
feelings.
problems,
Just
you
drink
know?
instead,
And
man.
I'm sure it's I mean, those guys are older than us. They probably can't, you know, they can't be real about what's going on with them, you know?
Dude, I love that about this movie. Just how open a lot of them were and like how supportive they were. It was honestly hype. Like you were saying, Nate, you're just like, yes, let's go.
Yeah.
The fucking boys.
But it was like
It
the
was-
wrong kind of support. Do you feel me on that sense?
Well, I think that's.
I mean,
think that's another
morally,
culture
sure.
thing.
Yeah.
I think it's another culture thing because every scene in this movie, everybody was so just cold blooded. It felt like to us, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
It was like such open honesty and just like clear cut, no beating around the bush, no vague emotional support at all times. But then like maybe saying something mean. It was just very honest. It was very just plain cut and dry, and like and, you know when he's like, yeah, everything's fine, and they go, no, it's not, this is about the class, right? Like shit's going bad, you suck as a teacher. What are you gonna do about it? And like and it was just, I was just like, oh fuck, if I sat through a grilling like that, hell, I'd start drinking too. Shit.
Start.
All right, we ready doing
Never stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And-
worked with this side tangent. I worked with this pharmacist back when I was at Tech a few years ago. Gosh, oh man, I'm getting old. This was over 5 years ago. It was a long time ago. But basically, when people would come in and ask, like, they would ask the pharmacist, like, hey, what's the best hangover cure? And every time this old hippie would just be like, stay drunk. And like, it was just like the best advice, though. It was just like, that's kind of is the best hangover cure, is just stay drunk, man.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. That's the only thing that ever worked in Vegas for me.
I've never put it to practice. I'm always
In
afraid.
Vegas,
the dog
that's
that
the only
bit
place
you.
I've tried it, in Vegas. Every time, it's just like,
Feel like
Just
shit. Keep going.
yeah, just keep going.
And that's the whole thing with like the day fade. Not to get too far into the weeds here, but like if we went to the wine festival like a month ago, a few weeks ago, I stopped drinking for like an hour and a half, and I was like, I need a nap. Like this is just it sucked. But if you just keep that fade going into the night, you can party all night.
Yeah.
It's just how drinking is in your 30s, I guess, or in your late 20s.
Damn, 30s, boys.
We're
Almost
close.
there.
Yeah, I said that, and I was like,
Not yet.
I'm not even gonna take it back because we're so close there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
30, 40,
Okay, so
and thriving.
Go ahead,
Jay's
sir.
joining soon. Maybe I'll just wait. Go for it, Adrian.
Jay's going. Oh, this would be a good question for Jay too, though.
Right, should we just wait?
But
No, I'm just kidding.
We're just gonna have to Jeopardy.
wait, we can just cut
Jeopardy
it here. And
Yeah.
then,
Quick.
all right.
Shot-
The
shot
question I
ready.
was gonna ask
Just kidding.
is, what do you guys think about this? I don't know if we'll call it a theory, but what do you think
That's what
about?
I was gonna say.
We are 0.05% in deficit of our blood alcohol content, and we would be leading better lives if we just were able to stick to that.
Dude,
Does that hold any water, or is it complete
you know what?
bullshit?
I-
Is it-
I was honestly sold.
I think it's
Like,
I think it's
100%.
true. I
It
think
is
it's fucking
sold.
true,
Sold.
dude.
I think it is a good I'm not sure the word for it. It's something to help people drop their walls, open
Yeah.
up,
Exactly.
find a little inspiration, kind of it drops your
Yeah.
mental barriers. Even just as little as 0.05 can help you, expand a little bit, like seek different routes to stuff.
That is literally what we did coming into this podcast. That is the foundation of this podcast.
right.
We were so nervous to press the
Hit that
record
record
button
button.
that we
Yeah.
started drinking and we took a shot together, and that was the foundation of this entire podcast.
Not every episode.
And it's fine. It's fine to an extent. I think I
Exactly.
agree with Alonzo in the chat. It's true until it's not. And I was with you on board, Nader, where I'm like, dude, you know what? I think I'm more sociable. I think I'm funnier when I'm drinking. I think this and that. But then that's that spiral that you.
It's
that
just
you,
it's not sustainable.
You can't.
Sustain-
It's
yeah.
like most
It's
people
just-
won't stop at the 0.05. You know what I
No.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you did, I feel like that would work. Honestly, like the
Well,
theory.
no,
or
yeah.
whatever.
I mean, that's the thing is like, would we like maybe perform better socially? Like, yeah,
I would,
probably.
for
But
sure.
if you look back at these crazy hardcore drugs that they used in like World War II, like, Nazis were like meth heads. They were just all using meth, and it was just like, yeah, they're better soldiers, but they haven't slept in 38 hours. Like, it's not a sustainable thing. And I feel like alcohol is just a less extreme version of that. It's just like, yeah, you'll perform better, but as we kind of alluded to, it's just not sustainable. Like,
So,
it really isn't.
how much is 0.05? Like, I don't even know. Like, is that like a
Honestly,
beer?
I think
Half
it's
a beer?
a couple of beers.
A couple
It's
of
not-
beers? Damn.
2 beers. Yeah.
It's because what is the illegal drinking limit is 0.08.
Yeah. And that's
So
technically 3
0.08 is like 3 beers.
Mhm.
So
I was gonna say.
yeah,
dude,
I mean, if you have like, if you have a couple of beers and then drive home from dinner, like you get pulled over, you tell the cop like, I had a couple of beers with dinner, or I had a glass of wine with dinner, like it shouldn't be a problem. Like your blood alcohol content should be below that. Not
0.75
legal
for
advice,
vodka.
by the way. Good God. Not legal advice.
Not lawyers.
I'm not a lawyer.
Here you
Dude,
go.
okay, because I was gonna say I feel like one beer I'm good. Like that, like just one beer will get me to where I feel like I'm comfortable and not slurring and being an idiot. You know what I mean? But like more than that, it's too much. So maybe 0.5 is too
Hey,
high.
you got some stats up. I want to hear
Got
it.
some sauce. So let's see. It's from a .gov website too. A 0.05 illegal blood alcohol content is not typically reached with a couple of beers after work or with a glass of wine or two with dinner. It takes at least 4 drinks for an average 170-pound male to exceed
Wow.
that level in
That's
2
not a
hours.
heavy-
Fuck.
In 2 hours on an empty stomach.
On an empty
3
stomach.
drinks, and then
On
in
an
parentheses it says
Oh, 2 beers, I'm
3
fucked up on an empty. 3
Yeah.
beers, I'm gone on an empty stomach.
yeah.
Well, you weigh 92 pounds.
Yeah. I'm
Nader's here,
also
guys. Come on.
really low.
No, I weigh about that. I think I weigh 170 to 175. And so I'm this far in. I'm about halfway through this Corona, maybe a little less than half. I've had 2 before this, and then I had an IPA before this, and I had a shot.
Oh my god. No, I'm just kidding.
I know. That's kind of a lot, right? So I had a shot,
Judge him.
an IPA, and 2.5 Coronas. And I had 3 pieces of Little Caesars hot and ready, not a sponsor.
Hashtag.
And like, I feel buzzed. Like, I actually feel buzzed. 175 pounds. I don't know. I'd be curious to see what my blood alcohol content is right now.
I wish we had breathalyzers.
Yeah.
I know.
Listen,
Jazz.
there's something about this movie that to the
Oh, we gotta
occasional or even more frequent drinker
Oh,
really makes you want to get a breathalyzer.
shit.
Just
Oh yeah, it absolutely does.
validate yourself in some way of like keeping track of those numbers.
But hold the
Yeah.
phone.
To have this measurable. Sorry.
We are joined by Jazzer. Jazzer, how are you? Where were you? Were you out drinking? It's
had a
become
couple.
a problem, and you need to be here for these podcasts, and you're just
Cheers, brother.
cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
No, I had a meeting and it ran a little late.
That's all good, brother.
But yeah, I caught
Yeah.
some of the last 5-ish minutes.
Uh-huh.
So would your life be better at 0.05? That's kind of what we were talking about.
I honestly, yeah, but like, what I wouldn't be able to do is maintain it because I can't drink all day. Like, I get super tired and it just doesn't sound appealing, you know? Like, when these savages are pulling bottles out of their like messenger bags in the middle of the day, that does not sound cool.
Right.
But I get it. I get the like the theory part intrigues me. You know what I mean? Like, I just kind of want to try it just to see what the deal is.
Okay, yeah, and I did want to talk about that. So his name is Finn Skarderud, not Skarsgård,
Oh no.
but Finn Skarderud. He's the psychiatrist that they're kind of quoting, and about the 0.05% ABV deficit, or BAC. And it wasn't really a theory as much as it was just kind of, let's see, I have the quote here. It's a misinterpreted preface written by Skarderud to a book first published in 1880 on the psychological effects of wine by Edmondo de Amicis. So yeah, I mean, it's not like this thing that was just like, oh, like we've like scientifically concluded that we have this deficit. It was just, I think it was kind of just like him, like, hey, having a couple glasses of wine is pretty great, right? And then a book was born.
So we're fools, all of us.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have fun, like doing it.
It's interesting because it's one of those things that just like humans have been doing for as long as they've been around, you know?
Recorded history.
Yeah, and it's kind of like survived that, which is pretty cool. So I don't know. It's not all bad, you know?
Well, that's the whole thing with the monks, right? Like they tried to
well, some monks still do. Look at
'cause
the monk
they had to
brewery here.
ration. They had to ration.
Well, that felt more for like sustenance than it was for just getting drunk.
But they still got fucked up.
Well, they like literally they were just drinking to not have to make bread, right?
Yeah.
Dude, me and James have been there, man.
Yeah.
When we lived in the house in Ranchitos, we survived off of Rolling Rock for a few days.
That same pharmacist I was talking about earlier about the just stay drunk. He said when he was in pharmacy school, he had enough money to choose between gas, food, or alcohol, and he said, "Well, I could walk to campus, and beer is pretty much bread." So like he just drank the whole time, and it was just like, there you go.
Cheers, will drink to that, brother. Dang.
I do actually have a breathalyzer, by the way. If
you bastard, dude.
I can see what I'm at right now. Okay, let's see. It's analyzing.
0.05, baby. Come on. Drum roll.
Imagine if it was exactly
analyzing.
0.05.
It's taking a lot longer than I thought it would.
Oh, it's because we're live. That's why.
Yeah, there's no fucking way that's right.
What does it say? Whoa!
0.15. Maybe because I
Did
just
you
took a drink.
just took a drink?
Yeah.
It's still like on your breath.
Yeah,
Well,
as far as I
as long
understand,
as
you're
it
supposed to
says-
do it after, like.
Yeah. After 15 minutes after you've had your last drink.
Okay.
So
All
when
right.
you
I'll wait till
took
the
that,
end.
and then after your score, you can do it.
My score will be my BAC will be my score.
Oh my god! This movie gets a 0.1. Oh, God. That would be great if we rated this on a BAC level. Like, that would be
So
cool.
just sorry, I'm late for everybody
No,
listening.
no.
What have you talked about so far?
All over the place.
A little
We've
bit all
been
over
all-
the place. Basically, we talked about how this movie's fucking real. It's more real than, for example, A Sound of Metal. Where
Yeah.
A Sound of Metal is very real, but I don't think everyone can relate to it. But most people can relate to drinking. At least this group of 5 men here, right? We
These
can
5
drink
brave
on it at an
individuals.
ethereal level. Like we see that. We talked a little bit about just the juxtaposition between the kids and the adults, and how basically the adults are trying to get back that carefree lifestyle that the kids had, that they probably once had when they graduated, when they, they were drinking when they were young, they were charismatic, they had no cares in the world, and then life got to them, and just how fucking real that is.
It's like your second, like, childhood in a way. Like, you have childhood, you do whatever the fuck you want. Then you get a little older, like the high teens, and you can't really do everything that everybody else can, and shit kind of sucks. And then you get 21, and you're like a kid again, dude. And you go and you drink everywhere, and you have fun.
Yeah.
And then it all just settles back in.
Well, that's the interesting thing about Denmark, is just the drinking age being
so low. It's not so low. I mean, it's 16.
16 years
Yeah.
old. That's fucking young, dude.
That is
And
pretty
we-
wild.
and
Can you imagine how many people we wouldn't have had to call for pullouts? Like,
Would have been way more drunk all the time.
I know.
no, we
Pretty
would have
much.
found out about like beers other than Bud Ice
Yeah.
years before.
And
Yeah.
we kind of talked about how like that was maybe sort of a robbing of innocence of a child. Like they didn't have, I mean, they I'm sure they had their carefree spirit and all that, but it was kind of supplemented with alcohol, and so it's kind of interesting to think about in like the grand scheme of the culture.
They were pushed a bit into adulthood early,
Like they
or what's
basically
deemed adulthood.
they didn't get
Yeah.
their second childhood, like you said it. It's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck do they do now?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, I've always seen it as more of a positive thing to introduce sort of the taboo like, topics or substances and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not
To
like,
two young adults.
Yeah, and
closer to
I
that
mean,
age.
and I'm not over here like speaking on my high horse or anything. We were all
No.
drinking at 16. We were all drinking probably earlier than that. Like we're no, obviously you find a will or you find a way.
Yeah.
If there's a will, there's a way. And I'm just thinking, just more readily available. I'm just thinking about just how will those kids in this movie, let's just say that they were real, would they experience the same kind of life trajectory as Mads and company, where they're kind of trying to chase that high that they had as a kid, that carefree life, and it comes at 40, 45 years old, and you're trying to chase this thing that was kind of not real to begin with. Does that make sense?
Or even to be like refueled with passion, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they've all kind of had, similar but different upbringings, and they all reacted differently to this whole experiment too, right? But they all also kind of found like that second wind for the things that they had chosen to do.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they were all teachers, like they were all very different teachers, like history, music, gym, and it was
who's
just
the fourth guy?
Psychology, right?
Yep, that's it.
is that what it was?
Continue.
Yeah, psychology, because he was like the one that was doing the experiment, right? He was the
Psychology,
Oh,
music.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the psychology was the music, wasn't he? He was
No,
also
No, different guys.
Separate
The
guys.
psychology guy was the guy who had the wife and kids.
Sorry, I totally derailed you, Jay. What were you saying?
who pissed the bed.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
The guy writing up the sick you know, the sick little anecdotes of their
Oh,
study.
right.
Oh,
What's it
yeah,
called?
yeah.
Scientific.
Yeah.
We
And,
forgot
that,
to
and that's a
mention
funny
those.
thing.
Those are-
Like, well, go ahead, Jay. I'll get into that a little later.
Well, we can keep rolling on that. I don't
mean, what I was
remember
gonna
where
say
we
is,
were
like,
before.
it's funny that it kind of feels like that's a bit of a justification for them to go ahead and do it. It's
Yeah.
just like, we're not just drinking every night. We're creating a scientific study.
We're gonna
Yeah.
we have to have something to come
Yeah.
out
you
of
know,
it.
and like
right.
we're
Uh-huh.
the, people being experimented on. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I don't want to keep tying this back into us, but I'm just like, we're not drinking all the time. We're just doing a podcast, and it's like part of the job. Sorry,
Part of the job.
Me and Nate are just
Yeah.
I'm
that
sorry,
monkey.
honey. I'm obligated.
Yeah,
It's for the content.
Yeah, it's for the content.
contractually
Yeah.
obligated to drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting to go back to what you're saying, James, about how it feels real. Like it's it is weirdly that, and I think that is a lot of the charm for this movie for me, is like
Yeah.
because they were able to make it feel like real life. Like there's these people were trying this thing, and you know, you related to it in different ways, and it really, like, I wasn't expecting that out of it. The only thing I
Oh,
knew about this movie before was like it got a bunch of awards, and that's it, and that it was not in English, right? And so as it kind of begun, you know, I was just like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm getting used to this. But like all of the barriers or any of that shit completely like melted away, and it just felt like so natural to watch. And even to the point where Taryn, Nader, and I watched it in Discord one night, and we paused it and we were like, should we be like drinking right now? Like, should we go grab a beer? It just had this like warm feeling, and it gets dark too, but I don't know, maybe that's like
even
why it feels real.
through the dark parts, you know,
Yeah.
the last like 30 minutes or so,
Yeah.
it was still like, you know, I'm still like, hey.
Yeah,
Ginger.
which brings up like this sad
It's a-
part about alcohol use, where you're just like, you drink in times of sadness and celebration.
Yeah.
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 That's why I like the
Yeah.
ambiguous ending, where you kind of don't know if they're just willing to go fuck all off the deep end and full alcoholism, or if they're just having a good drink in a sad
Yeah,
time.
dude.
But I
You
mean, they're
guys-
celebrating.
love the ending.
They're
I don't-
celebrating
Celebrating life.
His
No,
life.
they're celebrating the graduation, right?
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
celebrating
yeah.
the graduation,
Right.
Yeah,
but
but
just
like,
also they
prior.
just came
yeah.
from the
Yeah,
funeral.
Yeah, so it's like it's beautiful, really. It's drinking in both parts of life.
Well, and that's a beautiful aspect of the movie, is that like drinking is it can be very like, it can lead to very dark things like a funeral, but also can be the celebration, and like,
Yeah.
but also like the celebration is also them kind of celebrating their friend's life. Like he was part of
Yeah.
that graduating class. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And the kids, freaking Specs, dude,
Oh my
singing
God.
at the funeral.
Oh no.
Oh,
Holding
dude.
back
Yeah.
tears, man.
Oof.
That was a rough one, dude.
That was rough.
Yeah.
They pulled that off well. That
Dude.
whole
Yeah, they
like
did.
side relationship, which was
Every
really
character's relationship was so
Yeah.
good. Like
The
there was-
psychology teacher.
with that one kid, yeah, dude. Oh my God.
There was always one specific kid or student to each teacher
Yeah.
that like they definitively like changed their lives. In the beginning, they mention one of them is kind of really nonchalant about it. He's like, you know, they don't remember us. They just forget us as soon as they walk out the door, right?
Yeah.
And then this
Yeah.
whole movie, even through the good and the bad, shows these kids like Sebastian, the one in the music class,
Mm-hmm.
I believe.
Yeah.
The kind of cocky, you know, crazy kid in Mads Mikkelsen's class.
Yeah.
Specs in the soccer team, and then let's see,
The kid in the
Uh,
psychology class, right? The one who's like,
He was like trying to take
He,
a,
like,
a
flunked or
final
something.
test or
Anxious.
something like that, entrance
Yeah.
exam.
no, that was for the music.
No,
That was the
He
music
was the
teacher,
psychologist.
wasn't it? That's what
Yeah.
I thought.
For the psychology class, I don't recall. I think they kind of skimmed over his. His
Yeah.
was more. His was more about
His home life, really.
His was
Oh,
his
you're
home
right.
life.
You're right.
Exactly.
Oh,
You're right. You're right.
yeah.
But for each character, as far downhill as they went, they showed some redemption and these other characters that didn't just forget about them, didn't write them off. Actually.
Well,
made a
and
huge
that's
difference in
that's
their
like
life.
an interesting point is that like the second he said like these kids don't remember us, immediately my brain went to like what school teachers do I remember? And
Yeah,
I just started
same here.
thinking of all these names. I was just like, I remember a lot of my teachers.
Do you think they were
Yeah.
all drunk?
No.
Fuck yeah, some of
Some
them.
of them I know.
Maybe a little high, but
Maybe
Some
a
of them I
couple.
know where.
Miss,
I
what's
know
her name?
some
Miss
of them.
Thomas? Is that her name? James?
Yeah, Miss Thomas.
Yeah,
was she,
she
drunk?
was
I don't
definitely.
know.
Yeah, no, she like got.
Mr. Lapopolo. Oh man, are we gonna get people
Oh,
fired?
No,
No, we've
Miss
dropped
Thomas
Mr.
already got
Lapopolo's
fired.
name a million times.
Oh, we
but,
have dropped Mr. Lapopolo's name.
But
Well, he
like,
was a
yeah, but
character,
okay.
dude.
it's fine. We all turned out okay, I think.
Well, I mean, he was.
And
a
you guys
middle
remember him? They had some influence on you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, don't do that.
Okay, never mind. Fuck.
We talked about this a little bit earlier, where it's like this whole like morality thing. Like, okay, so they did something great for this group of students, right?
at what cost?
But at what cost, right? Yeah.
But also, who's the victim? I mean, I guess the teachers.
I don't know, that one kid that has to fucking down a bottle before he does anything. Like,
Oh, he's gonna take that lesson
Anything
into the rest of his
productive?
life. Fuck me.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, but at the end of the day, I don't know if he has to have a couple of drinks. Like, it's not like I don't know. Maybe he's gonna be an alcoholic and have kidney failure from it. I don't know.
Crippling anxiety?
Could be
Drink
bad.
a bottle of vodka.
guess-
Be a man.
Be a man. Be a man.
I think that's where an interesting conversation pops up where like if you're looking at it as like stone cold data, then did their experiment have good results?
Was it a
like
net
there was
positive?
one bad result potentially, right? And then 3 pretty good results, right? But when you look at it in terms of like, well, can you directly say that alcohol led to that outcome, or was it the fact that for whatever reason, right, they were able to kind of reignite the flame and open up and all that shit and care more that led to those results? Like the line gets weird there,
That's
it's like,
true.
yes,
feels like
maybe
the
the
only
alcohol helped.
person- It feels like the only person who didn't have a negative side effect was the music teacher, right? What was his negative side effect? Aside from his friend dying. But like, because you think about Mads Mikkelsen, his negative was that like he kind of rekindled his marriage a little bit, but then ultimately they ended up in divorce and then they get back together.
Yeah.
The other guy, the soccer coach, dies, and then the psychology teacher, his marriage is kind of a little rough, right? Like he's having a lot
His
of problems
wife
with his
was out
wife.
a little for a while there.
Yeah, she's not
Pisses
happy.
on himself, just like the kids did.
So the moral I'm getting is just be a music teacher, and you can be an
Can't be that
alcoholic.
hard.
Yeah, maybe.
But what do you think about the fact that do you think the results were net positive, I guess?
I don't think
Net
so.
positives? If the
Yeah, I would
guy
say
didn't
yeah.
literally die,
Aside
then
from the
yeah.
casualty, the collateral
So-
damage.
Sure.
No, yeah, I think so too. Like you're saying, like they rekindled their fucking lives. Like I don't even know if it's a negative that Mads Mikkelsen got divorced. Like he wasn't happy in that home. You know what I mean? Like,
But they're gonna get back together, which like ultimately even ties that off. Where it's
what? They didn't
But
get
it's
back
like,
together.
if they
they
were
are
trying
getting
to,
back together.
but
Did
if
you
they
miss
Yeah.
the text messages? Did you not have
It was the
subtitles on?
texting.
Oh, the
Yeah,
text.
that's-
It's been like a
Yeah.
week and a half. I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah.
no,
well,
but like, okay, so but if he kept up with the 0.05, never would have worked.
Yeah, if they never broke the
Never would have
constraints of the
worked.
study,
Yeah,
then
never
you're
would have
saying-
worked. So I think the net positives didn't. It
What do you
didn't
mean never
match
would have
out.
worked?
He would have never got his wife back. That's for
Oh,
sure.
You don't
because he
think
went
so?
past it.
No.
It only worked
You're
because
saying
went
because he got
past it.
drunker?
Instead of a slow burn, it was a
You're saying if he
You know
didn't go
what?
past the 0.05, it wouldn't have worked? I mean, because he
I just
did,
think
it did work?
I just think that
I'm
he just
losing
did
my
not to
mind.
be. Yeah, he didn't need to be constantly drunk all the time. I don't think
Mm.
his wife would have taken him back, and I think she knew that he was slowing down and stopping that. Right?
Okay.
Mm,
Right, but like he also
yeah,
had to kind of go through that to get
to
there.
learn that.
And
Yeah.
they like, and that was kind of the thing, is like their relationship felt like maybe it needed to like tear apart to be able to build that scar tissue and like come back together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Maybe.
And
Yeah.
and not even like results as in like they did the thing, just what happened because of it, you know? So
Yeah,
even
yeah,
if he like stopped doing it, I'd still consider it a success, I guess. I don't know. That's kind of a weird, that's like a weird
Because
thing to
like if they
ponder.
didn't do it, they would have just kept going in this like measly fucking bullshit life, right?
Right. There, yeah, would
Well,
it
it's
be
crazy because
objectively
like
worse?
he justifies why, because when they're having that conversation at dinner, they're just like, maybe, do they say something like maybe you should like leave her? They say
Oh.
something to that effect, and he just says like, you know, she took care of my father when he was
Oh
dying.
yeah.
You
She's
know,
the
and
mother
like
to
I
my
can't, she's
children.
the mother of my kids. Like I can't leave her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like he's not wrong, but like, you know, that's I don't know, and that really gets into like the complexities of like what, you know, the 21st century seeks in a relationship, which is like vastly different from, you know, a century ago. But it's just, I don't know, it yeah, it I think ultimately like his relationship was not going in the right direction, and then it just needed some shift. It needed the plates of that relationship needed to kind of shift out of place to be able to realign. And
Yeah.
I don't
To take that, I don't know, into more unserious bit. The so the whole beginning where they mention his jazz ballet lessons, and he knew how to dance and he was pretty good at it. But even when he reached the point of oblivion, he still teased them and he still didn't break out into what I
Yeah,
guess you could say was his former self,
Yeah.
his
right.
younger counterpart.
Right.
It wasn't until after the crazy drinking, after the tragedy, the like heartbreak,
Yeah, the funeral, the
and then
college celebration.
and then right before the big, you know, the celebration, and both finding out like his wife's still interested in him, his feelings mutual, like, you know,
Mhm.
he bettered the lives of students, and then he let loose.
The
He
Phoenix.
finally, and
Yeah.
you know, they were drinking again and stuff. It's like, but I don't think
Yeah.
that was the point. It was more that like he finally found,
The reason to
like,
live.
yeah, he found a purpose
Yeah,
again,
that's better.
Or
and
felt fulfilled.
Yeah.
he felt fulfilled, and it's what finally let him like let loose again and start dancing like a
Yeah.
fucking maniac. And,
Yeah. Fun
and,
fact: Mads
you know,
Mikkelsen is a professional dancer.
Yeah.
That's how
I
he
was gonna
started.
say
off.
he
Yeah.
was putting on some moves at the end there,
Wow.
man.
Stomping the
That's how he
ground.
started off.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I think in the case of, well, what if they had stuck at the constraints of the study, stayed at the 0.05? Yeah, I think no, it wouldn't have made as drastic a change. Maybe somebody wouldn't have died, but you
Yeah.
know,
Might have been like a
good with the
slower-
bad.
Slower climb, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Oh.
think it was a net positive.
Yeah, and I
Um,
don't know. I think that brings up an interesting point that we kind of talked about earlier. Is just like alcohol use has been around since man. You know, like we
Right.
learned how to ferment grapes. We're like, this is it. Like this is the fucking cream of the crop. You know, like, and I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't have came. You know, so far along. Like we wouldn't still be doing this if like in some sick twisted way we as humans didn't kind of need this in some sense, like a lot of us, you know. And I don't know, you hear people make the argument like, well, you don't need alcohol to have a good time, And I just always think of like, you don't need running shoes to go jogging, but it fucking helps. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Fun.
Oh god, that
It's
that whole sentimentality of you don't need to drink to have fun.
Well, I do, bro. Good for
I-
you guys.
Yeah.
Shit.
Oh, fuck. I don't know.
Cheers, brother, for like the 10th time this episode.
Cheers. Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Dude,
Yeah,
drinking
no, this-
straight whiskey is rough today. I'm all
oh
sweaty.
damn, dude. That's what you're on
sweaty.
today.
I didn't have
Right.
nothing else to drink, so we're going full alcoholism for the alcoholism movie.
Yeah, I mean the movie was like couldn't have been a better fucking pick, right? Like
Yeah.
I think we watched it and we are like, holy fuck, like that was kind of crazy. Like that was like like where it was a ride. And we
Yeah.
pitched it and somebody was like, what is it about? And I was like, 4 friends drink a lot, which is like
Your
basically
favorite
this show.
drinks?
Yeah.
Friends fumble through their lives.
Yeah. And Jay,
Um,
you missed this where I said the basis of this entire podcast is like founded on those principles that
Yeah.
we literally were too scared to press record. We were like, let's just take a shot, let's drink, let's do this,
Yeah.
and it created our entire
It
podcast.
built itself in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
2.5
for sure.
hours later.
Yeah.
So I think
mean,
that's why this works. I think that's why this movie
that's how we have these, dude.
hits
All
different.
part of the plan. But yeah, it's no, it was like one of those movies where as you're watching it, all of the like little maybe technical, even artsy things that you may normally pay attention to, at least for me, it all just melted away and I was purely just in it, like for the experience, you know? But like reflecting on it, I'm like, this actually was like a beautifully shot movie. Like the
Yeah.
colors were great, the kind of muted tone the whole time. It was
The
amazing.
house, the lighting in the house and everything, like
Yeah.
it was so well done.
It was masterfully done, and I think it's masterfully done on so many levels that like when the credits rolled, I was just like, "Fuck, dude, what did I just watch?" Like
Yeah.
that was something happened there, you know?
Yeah.
It
And
was
it felt
really
good.
when movies are so organic that you just stop paying attention to all the other technical
Hmm.
aspects of it. That's when you know you're just like, oh shit, I missed
Yeah.
all this. Like this
You're like, I
clever.
didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where the second and third watch comes in, right? Where
Yeah.
you think about those other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of technical
Alright.
things, Jay, I was gonna ask if it's worth telling everyone what the Dogma 95 is, or is that not really relevant?
It's cool. I give a small summary for like the 8th time in my life, but basically I learned
The
about
last
this
week.
from yeah, seriously. I learned about this from Alonzo actually. But this guy, this director, he was part of this group in the earlier days of like the 90s, maybe the 80s, where they would make these movies and there was like 10 commandments that they had to follow when they made movies. It was like a collective. It was called Dogma 95. And so some of those elements, because the idea behind it was like, how can we make something good with constraints that will help us like keep it under budget and, you know, not think about genres and shit like that, right? The directors couldn't even be credited. Like it was like this thing that was just like pure trying to get as close to the fucking grindstone of making movies as you could. And there's elements of this movie that, you know, come from those things. Like one of the rules was that you can't have any music in post. All music has to be at time of filming. So the elements of this where
Sound
they're
in
in
general,
the
right?
yeah, sound in general. And when they're in the restaurant and they start singing, like that's where music comes in, right? But it's happening in the story. The music teacher, that's kind of a, you know, if it works, whatever. And you know, all the singing and shit, like all the music kind of happened organically. But just little pieces like that that just help make it honestly feel what it's supposed to like really get to the root of, which is like telling a great story and you know, impacting somebody and not necessarily like being too flashy with cinematography or too this or too that, right? Just like serving the story and delivering it to people. So there's elements of that in this for sure.
That's probably why
But,
it feels
you
so
know,
real too. Like it,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
almost no music at all. Like there's maybe like one or
Right.
two songs that are like post production, but
Yeah.
like even like at the end where he's dancing and shit, like that's all being played there. It's like it works
Right.
so well, dude.
Yeah, there's music in the lake race, right? Like the first scene, I think they have
Oh, sure.
music
Yeah,
over
it's like an
and,
opening montage type
Yeah.
of deal. Yeah. But it's just interesting, like, the idea of the constraints really propelling creativity and like learning how to get away with things in a way that feels natural.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, that's
interesting.
yeah, I want to dig into that more. I haven't seen any of the movies that were made in that collective. There's 31 of them, and after 31 that was like where it ended. Like they couldn't be, because each movie had to be basically reviewed by all the other people in the collective, and they decided that after 31 that didn't have to happen anymore, and that's kind of where the collection stopped. But I haven't seen any, so I'm looking forward to digging in.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Are we ready to jump into reviews?
Fuck it, dude.
Yeah, there's a movie called Fuckland under them. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
let's
a
start
little too
there.
inebriated to get into my opinion on what the fuck.
On
that-
Fuckland. Yeah. Who wants to start it
But-
off?
I don't know. Not me. Not Nader.
Not Nader?
Nader can go.
I feel like Nader shouldn't
He's
go
ready.
first because he's the guest.
He's
I feel like
well,
that's the most interesting.
I can go first, I guess.
I'd be okay with it.
All right, no, let's let Nader go. He's the guest. We'll let him
All
go
right.
first.
So I've always told you guys when it comes to movies, I'm not very critical at all, and I'm easily
Yeah.
impressed. And
It's a 10.
just-
is what...
yeah. Honestly, I was thinking about throwing that out there, but I will say,
Wouldn't be the
as a side
first
note,
guest that done
my-
that.
my whole intention of ever coming on here was to just skew the score so terribly
it
to one side or the
attitude.
other.
was a giant ploy.
To just fuck
Cancel
you guys
all
over.
of this. No.
Just to
Throw
just-
the wrench, dude.
Just try to drive things a little higher and make it not seem like you guys are a bunch of haters.
You're amongst the critiques now, so
Not at all. Not at all. No, I'm still like we
I
just
don't
saw
know if I've
Malignant,
heard
and I
Nader
fucking-
say any movie was bad. I don't know if I've ever heard that out of him.
Yeah, I can't say I can think of one off the top of my head. That's how non-critical I am of movie.
Mm.
Yeah.
Music at like every form of media, really, like even games.
yeah.
Maybe just one, but anyway.
So
So
you
this
gotta
whole-
name it now. What the fuck?
League of Legends.
TFT.
Okay.
So this whole movie, like I was saying earlier, I was captivated. Everything was so organic that I was never brought out of the movie except for maybe when I mentioned, "Hey, should we be drinking right now?" And then we immediately went and grabbed
The
beers, and
luxury
then
of pausing,
and
yeah.
then once we started going, it felt like I was part of it, like I was in it. And even a lot of people, foreign films take people out of it. They get super distracted by subtitles, the language they don't know. They don't get the body language. They don't get the nuances of it. And for sure, it is a bit of a culture shock, but at the same time, it just felt like I was in this town. I was like a student, or I was some teacher on the sidelines, like just watching these dudes kind of self-destruct and have their unsung, kind of the unsung heroes, some shit like that. But obviously, I was really impressed by it, all of it. I don't have really anything bad to say at all about it. So I can't think of any kind of like maybe this, maybe that. No, it's like everything was spot on. The shots were very clear cut. Like the dialogue was very straightforward, honest, but also had some like complexity to it, some meaning. The music again, when the Dogma 35 thing, when that was mentioned, I was like, is he doing it right now? Like no music in post? So I was super impressed by that. Everything, it didn't necessarily need it though. So yeah, everything was spot on for me. And so I would have to put it between 9 and 10. Shit. Maybe not a 10 because it wasn't like life changing. I felt a little victimized by it. But I don't know. Shit.
We do a decimal system here.
So
You
a
can go
9. You could do a 9, 9.5.
9.8, 9.5.
I would get. I mean, I'll just go 9.5. Get it over with. Get me off this tangent.
9.5. All right, 9.5 out of our guest Nader.
Hell yeah.
Cheers.
Very solid score.
That's
Not our
bangers.
highest guest score. We have had a perfect 10.
Twice?
Really?
I gave it 2
when?
tens.
Has it been twice?
Helen gave both movies that she was on a 10.
Oh,
Wait, she's been on 3 times?
No, she's been on twice. I missed that claymation. I missed
Mary
that.
Max.
Did you watch
Mary
it?
Max.
Sorry, this isn't the time, but did you watch it?
No, it's not the time. We'll talk about it later.
Yes or no?
Dude,
All
you
right,
need
so-
to watch it.
Nader rated this a 9.5 out of 10. Who's next? Who's ready to take it over? James was close. James was
yeah,
ready to go.
Yeah.
Do it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so going into this movie, I already kind of knew the premise. A lot of Reddit hype kind of flowing around it. So I think I put it in chat one time. And when you guys talked about it in chat, I was just like, hey, are you talking about that Mad Mikkelsen movie? Because I just kind of knew because I had like the general idea of it. But yeah, so I kind of knew what I was going into. But I wasn't expecting just like the total realness of it. I thought it was just going to be mostly kind of comedy, maybe even sort of slapsticky, like humor in it. But it was the ups and downs. It was life at its purest, I think. And it was just fun to see how they were just trying to like rekindle with their youthful carelessness, and it just got out of hand because that's fucking life. And when you get old, shit gets complicated. And I guess my only big gripe, sorry, Nader, is that it was a little too predictable. Like I was like, his wife's cheating on him. This guy's gonna kill himself, right? Like I knew. Like, I don't know. I just had.
Never mind.
I like called it like halfway through. I was like, this guy's gonna kill himself. Like I just had that feeling.
I'd say it was
just felt it.
telegraphed.
Yeah.
Pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that's the thing is that like the dialogue and everything feeling so natural. I think that's why it was so predictable for me, right? Like it was like the writing's on the wall kind of thing. What's that, Taryn?
You knew the characters that well.
Yeah, kind of. And I don't know if that's maybe hindsight, maybe that's not a negative, but just the entire like premise of it was just very interesting. Just the way that they were like, no, we're gonna do this and we're gonna create like this psychological paper. People are gonna write about it someday. You know, people are gonna talk about our experiment, and like I don't. It was just very interesting. It was haunting in a sense that it's like, fuck, is this possibly something that could happen to me, to my friends? It's just interesting. I think we just have to take the life ring, the lifesaver, the little thing, and float it out. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what that means. But
I liked it.
my general feel
Yeah.
of the movie is I'm gonna say an 8.
All right.
An 8.
Solid 8
I
out
believe.
of 10 from James. Not a bad score at all. I think I'm ready. Does anyone else want to go?
Go ahead.
Go for it, bro.
All right. So, what I will say, like I said earlier in this episode, I was surprised that this movie was released in 2020. You know, we're recording this towards the end of 2021, and I was like, man, it just seems like this is the kind of movie that we would be all over. Like, it's kind of the perfect fucking film for us. It's 4 guys who are into drinking a lot, and like that's kind of the premise of this entire podcast. So I don't know, it was interesting, and I think like James, I thought that this movie was going to be like a little bit slapsticky. It was going to be like, hey, look at all these crazy hijinks that these 4 guys get into, like how
Yeah.
crazy, how Goonie, you know,
Hangover
and
status. I don't know.
yeah, like very much Hangover, and I was like, all right, I'll watch it. And honestly, I didn't even like fully understand that it was going to be all in, or that it was going to be in Danish at all. And then that's something that we actually didn't really talk about almost at all, which I think is definitely a barrier for some people. That is just like reading subtitles. It's just, we've talked about this many times. It's reading subtitles isn't for everyone, and I'm kind of glad that it wasn't a focus on this. I think one thing that I will say, it was just an interesting thing that I noticed that I think Jay mentioned in chat, was that like there are strikingly more similarities between Danish and English than I thought. Like
There's a
a
lot of
lot of
words
the
that were
things that
just straight up the same, right?
were the same. Yeah, like a lot of the things that they were saying, I was like, that's weird. That's pretty much the same in English. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I also agree with James in that it felt a bit predictable. I think if there was one thing that I would complain about, was the relationship between the main character, what's his name, Martin, Mad's character, and his wife. How it was just like, oh, we're in a stale marriage. Oh, now I'm drinking. Now I can have sex again. And then like, oh, like I've been cheating on you. And then like almost immediately feels like, oh, I also miss you. Like how she just, I don't know. It just felt like that relationship. It felt like the writing kind of tried to tie that off a little bit quickly. Um, I still liked. I mean, I still liked it. I liked that they ended up probably getting back together in the end. But no, to go back to like how this movie surprised me is like thinking that it was just going to be a silly comedy, and then being hit with like really solid acting, really solid dialogue between the characters, even with this language barrier where I'm just reading subtitles. But like, I just go back to the scene. I think the scene that really sold it for me was just when they were at dinner, all having wine and vodka, and Mads isn't drinking, and then he eventually starts to drink, and he gets into like his whole monologue on why he's miserable. And it was just like, oh my God, like this is really solid acting. This is really solid line delivery. This is just really solid writing overall. Like it just really, really worked. And I absolutely wasn't expecting that, like at all, for this movie. I don't know. It was fun. I loved it. I think like, to go back, the overarching message may be a little bit predictable. Drinking isn't all bad. It isn't all good. Do it in moderation. You'll have a good time. And that's why we've been drinking for thousands of years. And that's why we'll continue to drink for thousands of years, is because it's just who we are as humans. I don't know. This was a fun movie. It definitely surprised me. Um, I think for me, it lands right about an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
That's where I'm at with it. Who wants to take it over next? Jay or Taryn?
If I may, Jay, just because I wanted to talk about something.
Yeah, go for it.
Talking about just the language thing real quick.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of or like, I don't know, for my mom, for example, was like, oh, I wish it was in English or whatever. She said that, but I was like, well, if I got some news for you, Hollywood saw that this movie won Best International Picture or whatever, and they're remaking it in English.
No way. No.
With
Really?
Leonardo
Wow.
DiCaprio as the
They
main
don't need
character.
to.
No.
They don't need to.
The only hope I have is that it brings people to this one, which I have no doubt in my mind that this is gonna be the better version. Like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
They got Leo. They're like, all right, we'll make it like amazing. It's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. But yeah, on that also Danish. I've never heard Danish that like much, and it was really weird. It was interesting because usually like the only other languages that I watch movies in are in Japanese. Literally, that's like Korean maybe every once in a while.
Sometimes Korean, yeah.
So I liked that. I liked seeing another part of the world. I don't know, just seeing like their take on a movie. I guess it's just kind of stupid because it's so like universal. Like movies are everywhere. I loved that this movie got as much recognition as it did. because I really think this movie is fucking awesome. Like watching it with the boys, drinking beers, it was so much fun. But like everyone was saying, it's predictable. It's just like it has to be, right? Like Nader was saying, is like it wouldn't be that interesting if it didn't come back down from that oblivion level. So like I can't knock it for that, because like a kind of like, of course it had to do that kind of thing, but like I think they did it really well. I think they did all the, like, especially the last scene, dude. Oh my god, it's like I feel like it might become iconic. Just him dancing with the champagne and like all the shit flying on him and he's running around and shit. Like that's like the poster for the movie, I think, is from that scene, and it's just so good looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the I think the poster for the movie. It's him at the very end,
Yeah, with like the champagne or
taking
some
taking a
shit.
fat swig,
Yeah.
and getting ready to dance his ass off.
Yeah, like I don't know. Yeah, this movie was just, I've been wanting to watch it for so long, and I'm glad we finally did, and it was just
Me too.
more fun than I thought it would be. Like I knew that it was kind of like it became a downer at some point, which is like fine. But I don't know, like everyone was saying, like this movie is really nice to look at, and it's so real. Like I was sucked in immediately. I was like, damn, Danish sounds weird in the first 5 minutes, and after that I was like, it was gone, you know? Like
Forgot.
I
Yeah.
am Danish.
and I was honestly worried, because it was like, oh, I know Mads Mikkelsen like from a lot of other stuff. Like how is it gonna be in his native tongue with all these other people I've never heard of in my whole life, and like they all held their ground, and like each character was super interesting in their own way, and like all their stories felt like they had good arcs with good ending, or not good like as in like the outcome was good, but like good arcs that
Interesting.
yeah, sure, interesting arcs that like finished in a way for most of them. And I don't know how, I can't think of anything bad about this either. Like maybe don't get back with your wife. I don't know. Maybe that's the only thing. Is like maybe don't. But who
I'm
am
sure
I?
they're
Who am I
happy.
to say? Yeah, exactly. Maybe they're happy. I don't know. Um. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. This is a 9. I love this fucking movie.
Nice. All right. 9 out of 10. Jay, bring us home.
All right. Well, I did the BAC, by the way. It was .03,
What?
which
Oh,
also does
wow.
a few.
You're not in the golden.
Gotta pump those
Well, it says
numbers
you
up.
are experiencing slight alcohol intoxication. So I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's fun. But
So
yeah, no,
that's
it's like it was a surprise, like everybody has said. It's to me, it's like we're talking about how culturally it's so different, and it was like presented from the lens of these people in this like faraway place, right? And like for me, that just kind of like made me feel like, yeah, people aren't really so different. Like, which ties back
Yeah.
into the we've all been drinking for thousands of years thing. Like, even though culturally it's vastly different, like, people at the core of it are uh not too far apart. And I mean, this movie just did a great job of like exploring, the like weird peaks of human curiosity, and like we're gonna try this thing because some fucking guy said so 1,000 years ago or whatever. Like, I don't know, it's really interesting. It felt so natural. It was written so well. Like all of the things everybody has said are absolutely true. But for me, when it takes me completely, like it puts blinders on me for all the technical pieces, that's how I know that what I'm watching is like magic in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And that it was like masterfully crafted, like you start to pick those things up the more movies you want. I mean, we're at almost 80 episodes of this show, and we've watched many more movies than that, but like now that we're thinking more critically of them, it feels like a treat when something comes along that you're like, yeah, I'm not thinking about that at all. I'm like completely, sucked in. So that, I mean, it did a lot for me on that aspect, just from like, you know, watching something that was masterfully crafted. And it was it looked beautiful. Like when I think back about it, it looked beautiful. But but really it's the ability that it has to connect with people from like all kinds of places, I think, is what's going to carry it on, give it like a legacy and shit that other movies just won't have. And that like minutes after watching it, or for me, like I can feel that it's going to survive the test of time. And it's hard to give anything that does that less than a 9. So I think I got to give it like a 9.3. Sounds right.
Let's go.
9.3
Thanks, James.
out of J brings us to a collective 8.86
Thanks, James.
out of
Thanks,
10.
James.
I should have just Hail Married it.
Well, Nader said at the beginning, he was just like, he's been wanting to skew the score so high to fuck everything up. You should have just given it an 11, dude.
Yeah.
You could have gave it a 10. It
Could've been
probably
a Hall
would
of
have worked,
Fame.
right?
I'm not that good at quick math, but I don't think so. Maybe.
Probably would have put it at 8.99.
You know what? I'm curious. What if we did 10 plus? James gave it an 8. I gave it an 8.5. Trent gave it a 9. Jay gave it a 9.3. Divided by 5. That would have been an 8.96. Wow, there was no hope.
That would have been worse, actually. If that
Yeah, so it would have been up 0.1. So yeah, well, that makes sense. Divided by 5, it was 0.5 higher. Anyway, we rated this a collective 8.86. We'd love to know what you guys think about this. Very special guest, or very special thanks to our guest, Nader Potato, for joining us today. It was a fun one. It was a good episode to join in on. He drinks just as much as all of us do, so I mean, it felt right.
Hey.
Sorry, more.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah,
Oh, we didn't talk about the poor dog left on the fucking boat.
He lived. Shut up. He lived.
Did the dog die?
No.
I don't think.
No, he lived. Shut up.
Where was he? Did he appear in the
He
end?
was snacking on some fish.
They
All right.
found the boat. It's fine. He's fine.
Oh, we're just saying that he didn't die. Okay.
Why did he
well,
take the dog with? I mean, you want to be by your best.
I don't know. I didn't even get that he killed himself. I thought that he would just like his liver died, and then he was like, okay.
Just happened to be on the boat.
He just happened to be out fishing. Anyway,
Thanks, Alonzo.
yeah, we'd love
Halloween
to
is
know what you
coming
guys
up,
think about this
baby.
movie. Next week, we are starting our Halloween series. We need to find some Halloween movies. Make sure you're following our Instagram at Film Fumblers. We're probably going to be throwing tons of polls out the next couple of weeks or next few weeks about some like good horror movies that we should watch and review. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, follow all of our socials. Find all of them at filmfumblers.com. Until then, we will see you next time. Cheers, guys. See ya.
Cheers.